Hello and good evening. So we're back again Wednesday evening, Leon Street here, and it's all about visionary marketing. If this is the first time you've come across me, this channel, videos, then please sit back and get ready for some great content. Tonight we've got a really great topic, and it's a topic I come across quite a lot with coaches, and especially the coaches that I'm coaching and helping to go to the next level. And I guess for many people it's a topic that is scary, and hence I guess why I've got the title for today's video, which is how to turn sales from nightmare to dream. And we're going to dig in more into the content in a moment. And before I go any further, I think the obvious thing is that, you know, truly sales it's a challenging topic for a lot of people. And if you're a coach or consultant and right now you're not selling, or you have, you know, fears around selling, and you never quite get the sales in the way that you want them to happen, then this definitely is for you. We're going to touch on a couple of things that you need to be aware of and some actions on what you can do to take things to the next level. So before we get any further, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. And if you're watching this on Facebook, do hop on over to YouTube. Go to www.leonstreet.com/YouTube, hit the subscribe button, click on the notification bell to be notified of all of my upcoming live streams and videos. And as we get into this, how can sales be a nightmare? Well, let's start. Without sales, you have no business. And I guess if you're fearful of, you know, what it takes to be great at sales, by not selling, you're really putting your business at risk. And it's that simple. I've come across a lot of people who, you know, they've either worked and they've transitioned from work using savings, or they've come into some money from a contract that they landed from a referral, so they really didn't have to sell. And there's a point where perhaps you are selling, but you're selling at a price that is way below where you really want to sell, or you have no idea in how you can increase your prices and still sell confidently where people will pay you. And these are the challenges for a lot of people. It's very common, and it's a real topic of struggle for a lot of business owners. And what I'm going to do is debunk some of the things that you need to be aware of. But, you know, as I said, without sales, you have no business. And so I'm starting this so you really focus on the fact that sales is your duty. Unless you're selling every day, you're not maxing out on the skill or the ability to achieve the results that this vital function offers your business. So you've got to be selling every day. And if you're not, probably the challenge there is not necessarily selling. It might be your lead flow. So you might have a slow lead flow coming into your business, meaning you're not attracting enough people. So let's look at the definition of selling according to the Cambridge Dictionary. The job and skill of persuading people to buy things. So if you're fearful of persuading people to buy something from you, well, you don't need to worry about it, because that's the definition of what sales is according to the Cambridge Dictionary, of course. But in essence, that's what you're doing. Any sale that happens with you convincing a person to buy from you it's a skill of persuading. The person has been persuaded. And so for me, when it comes to selling is such an important function. And you know what? I'm going to stop screen share for a moment. When it comes to sales, I already said this, sales is your duty, but a lot of people don't see this. What I'm about to share right now is that to take that courageous transition to be a business owner, whether you're a coach, consultant, expert, whatever you call yourself, you know, you could be a speaker or whatever. Sales is the department, is an area of your business that you have to get a hold on early on, especially if you want to get momentum. Because when you get cash coming in, even if you're not at that point where you've got enough cash coming in, but you've got enough to survive, but you're not got enough cash to where you want to be, let's say, by having cash come into your business, your confidence will go through the roof. When you don't have enough cash, your confidence is obviously down on the ground. And this is why it's so vital, because you have a gift, you've got skills, you've got services, you've got products, what you want to give to your clients, the people who you want to attract in, right? But if you're not selling and you are not taking on that responsibility in terms of ownership, responsibility, and accountability, then you've stepped into the wrong career path. Running a business isn't for you. However, if you're just at a place where you're stuck and you do want to get sales going, you do want to get things to that next level, and you're prepared to dig in, gain momentum, increase your cash flow, and then take your confidence to the next level, honestly, sales will transform your business. Yeah. And when I say sales, my connotation, my idea, my expectations of what sales is about how you transform the lives of your customers. It isn't the negative side of what sales is. And we're going to get into that in a moment. And we all hear this sleazy, pushy, that kind of stuff. And so I want to dig into more of, where you go next. So just a little bit more. And I want this to sink in, especially if you're not where you want to be in terms of sales and taking your coaching or expert or consultant business to the place where you want it to be. Your bank balance is a reflection of your spiritual, emotional, and mental well-being. And they say we are what we attract into our lives. And so that is also a reflection of how your sales is going. So if you're struggling, don't let your bank balance define you. And I'm being very specific in saying this because when your confidence is low and you haven't been selling, a lot of the times we default back to what's in our bank account. And we use it as almost like, well, that's the reality. But if you keep going back to that as being your reality, it makes it hard to shift mentally by, thinking of where you want to be and then being able to act on it, because you're occupying your thoughts with, well, that's what my bank balance is, so that must be my reality. If that's my reality, why bother change? Will things ever change? And the key here is it's simply the vision isn't clear. Your vision for your business isn't clear. And you can work on that. And when I say your vision isn't clear, it's because you've got some blockages with how your vision relates to the department of sales in your business. And that's what I want to get across for you. And so the more you lock that in, the more you own that my vision isn't clear. So perhaps that's why I'm creating a nightmare or fears around selling. And the more you lock it in, the more you realize that actually sales is the natural step for you to create transformation with your prospect when they become a client. So let's dig into the nightmare. So what is the nightmare? And for a lot of people, like, I'm not even kidding, I come across people who they sell high ticket sales, but they're still scared of it, or they sell ad hoc, but no, they sell randomly. It's almost like it comes in peaks and troughs, but more troughs rather than peaks. And so when the sales come in, it's like, phew, I don't know how I got through it, but I somehow managed to sell. But there isn't the consistency of creating, let's say, 1 in every 3 prospects that come through that I'm converting, or even 1 in every 2. So 50% or even 30 to 50%. And when you lock this in, you really can take your sales to the next level. So where do we need to start with the nightmare? Let's have a look at it. Why are you so scared? Or perhaps, and I say this with respect because I used to be scared of sales, in the sense of I didn't have it all figured out. I didn't really understand what sales was and really sales. And I learned this from, a top guru. And I paraphrased this quote into my book, More Leads, More Clients. If you've not got it and you're a coach and a consultant, I do recommend you get the book on Amazon, More Leads, More Clients. So sales is when 2 people walk a path of mutual agreement. Yeah. Mutual agreement. So when you look at your fears, the number one fear when it comes to sales is just your own fear, your biases, what you think sales is, and how terrible perhaps you think it is to charge highly, to even sell in the first place. And I see a lot of things on social media. I saw a post actually today, it made me think, where somebody says you shouldn't necessarily charge your worth or your value. You should charge what's acceptable. Yeah. And when you look at life in that way, well, what is acceptable? Because, some people, as an example, when it comes to buying cars, would buy a Vauxhall or a Ford, like a normal middle class, working class type of car. But yet there's people out there who buy Mercedes, BMW, and then there's people out there who buy the likes of Bentley and Rolls Royce. So what is acceptable? And this is the challenge that you have when it comes to sales, because you have your own biases. What you may think is acceptable might not be what your prospect is expecting. And so your own fears are something you have to get a hold on. And one of the best ways to combat your fears in terms of selling is to write them down. What are your fears around selling, and what are your ideas of what sales is? Yeah. Is it sleazy? Is it pushy? You don't like the word selling. and it's only because we have a bias as to what the word means, and all we need to do is change that bias into what it can actually do when people come to you in your business and you bring them on board as a client, which is the transformation, where they get the solution to the problem, they get the service, they get the amazing results. And when you switch your perspective on what sales is, at this point, the conversations change in terms of how you sell. And for me, this is the powerful step in terms of selling, because whenever you come across a real confident salesperson who comes from a place of authenticity, comes from a place of integrity, you'll see the confidence just exudes off of them. And Zig Ziglar used to talk about this, and I have his book somewhere on my bookshelf. Actually, here it is. He's a guy that I refer to quite often, and I guess he's one of the originals that when I was really getting into sales in my early days that I really looked into. So this is Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar, Secrets of Closing the Sale. A lot of people don't like the words closing the sale. They're like, oh, it's the start of a relationship and all that kind of jazz. But anyway, the point is, it's sales. Yeah, sales is the first step in the transformation when a person becomes a customer, because without them being a customer and you selling to them, no transformation can take place, right? And so for me, if you're genuinely serious about helping your prospects and your niche, the people in your audience, then you do have to close the sale. If you want to use a different term for closing the sale, that's entirely up to you. You still have to sell, right? So the first thing is write your fears down so you can see them, you can realize what they are. But remember, sales is two people walking a path of mutual agreement. So when it comes to fears, really, if a person agrees and you agree, you're never going to be a pushy, sleazy person, because it's two people agreeing, right? So the second thing that most people are scared of is unconscious misbehaviors. And this is tightly linked to fears. This is your unconscious beliefs, patterns, and what you think sales is. It might be that you brought up where you had, let's say, when you were younger and your parents had a bad experience of sales. Somebody got sold a car that was, not a good car, or somebody got sold double glazing that didn't work out to be double glazing. They said, oh, that terrible salesman or woman sold me this, and it's no good. And then as a kid that you learn, oh, actually, terrible salesperson, terrible window sales, car sales, whatever salesperson. And you start to have this unconscious bias as to what sales is. Well, actually, when I get sold, rather than me going into a shop, picking something up off the shelf, when I get sold something bad. But if I choose and pick something up myself, then actually it's a good thing. But the reality is that a great salesperson is going to be the person that guides you and becomes, the trusted advisor. So when you look at your unconscious behaviors, if you're having difficulty with selling, it might be patterns that you developed over the years. And these are things that you can rectify and you can work on. So I'm making that clear because a lot of the times and I'll just go back before we get on to step 3, when we look at the things that we fear or that are challenging for us, it's usually linked to something that we need to resolve as behavior within us, right? And especially if you find sales difficult. And I'm emphasizing this because a lot of people either they don't admit to it or they admit to it and never fix it. Yeah. So the more you become aware of it, the more that you can fix the problem. So step 3 of why people look at this as a nightmare is that your offer. So usually when it comes to selling, if your offer isn't great and you don't know how to demonstrate value, it becomes super difficult, especially when you're selling. If you're selling like high ticket services, whether it's coaching, consulting, even if you're selling like an online course for 500, 1,000, 2,000 pounds, dollars or euros, it can feel hard to sell those services and products. If you create a great offer, your offer gives you clarity and certainty. And so when it comes to selling, you give your prospect clarity and certainty. And a lot of people miss this. They think that if somebody's interested, I can just sell them, whatever comes to mind. But the reality is that whatever comes to mind will also include fears, and also you could argue, but it can contain confusion. And sometimes that confusion is where you overwhelm the prospect, give them too much information, give them the wrong information. And then the person says, you know what, I'll go away and think about it. And that's usually a sign of when your offer isn't clear and isn't irresistible. So that's how you can combat sales being a nightmare as well. Work on what your offers are. The other reason why sales can be a nightmare is your current circumstances. Look, if you're not selling and times and things are challenging right now, especially off the back of this lockdown, the pandemic and so on, a lot of businesses have struggled, coaches have struggled. On average, I did some research a couple of years ago, and that the average salary for a coach who runs their own business is something like $51,000, which works out to around about 35,000 total. Not their salary, but what their business takes in. And when you look at it from that perspective, you know, £35,000, approximately $51,000, is hard. It's difficult to run your whole business and life off of. And so if your current circumstances aren't great, that will impact the way that you sell, because you'll be selling out of scarcity rather than abundance, and looking at the transformation that you can create for somebody else. Because what will happen is you'll start looking at yourself and think, well, how can I make any difference to these people if I'm not a success already? And then you start taking, again, your own circumstances and fears, put them on yourself, put them into the sale, and usually the sale falls apart, because a person can feel desperation in the way that you're speaking. They can feel where you're not clear. They can feel uncertainty. And that's the challenge that you face when it comes to sales. If your current circumstances impact you in the way that you approach your sales mentally, and they will, unless you get a hold on it. So step number 5 of why sales can be a nightmare: slow lead flow. If you're not getting enough leads coming into your business, then you can't sell. It becomes difficult, and you never get to that point of being able to sell. Practice that skill of selling, improve your skills, improve your experiences around selling, to understand the nuances of the language you use and what turns people off and on to buy from you can really impact you. And that's not a sales problem, that's a marketing problem. But I include it because I come across a lot of people who are not having enough sales conversations for them to even know if they're good at sales or not, and if sales is actually a nightmare, or if actually it's just they're not getting enough leads. And number 6 is simply taking action. If you are currently challenged by sales and you find it difficult, you find that you have some fear, some anxiety, some stress, that's okay, that's normal. The biggest thing is you shouldn't get caught where you're not taking action, you're not taking that sales call, or you're missing the sales call, or you're not following up before the sales calls happen, where you're texting the person, let's say an hour before or 10 minutes before. And this is important because quite often when you have fears around sales, you avoid it. And it's easy to avoid, like, oh, something more important came up, I had to cancel, I had to reschedule the sales meeting. And all of these things can start happening. And magically, before you know it, you're not selling again. So the importance of this step here, why a lot of people fail and sales is a nightmare, is they're not taking enough action around sales when they have the opportunity. Right. So hopefully you guys are clear on the 6 key steps. There's more, but those 6 steps, I'd say that they're probably the main basis of where fear comes from. But, you know, what do you do next? Well, how do you actually make it work? Great question. So let's dig into these. Well, here's how you can make it work. You list your fears of selling, because when you write them down, you can see, are they real, or are they just something that you just created over time from your programs as a small kid right through to your teenage years and into adulthood, still thinking sales is bad, when actually, when you start looking at your fears of selling, you'll start to see that actually it's just something imaginary that you created in your head. And when you look at yourself for what selling can do for your customers, the people who become your clients, the transformation you can give them, the results you can help them to achieve with your services, your coaching programs, your online courses, and so on, you will start to see that those fears are not real. Yeah. Accept that no is normal. What you've got to understand is that if you have fears of selling, people have fears of buying, believe it or not. So if you get to the point where, you know, if a no crushes you and you like literally have to recover after a day, 2 days, 3 days, what you've got to do is just work on that recovery and make it faster, because no's are part of sales. No's could be that the person genuinely doesn't have the money. No's could be that the person has other things, other commitments going on even before they got on the sales call with you, which is going to impact their ability and decision making to actually buy from you. There's going to be other factors. You know, the person just really isn't into the offer. They loosely had an interest in what it is that you were offering, but it just wasn't a right fit. There's going to be other things. There's going to be other reasons, other excuses as to why you'll get a no. Just become okay with no's. No's are part of selling. No's are part of life. And I love what Les Brown says, you know, the great motivational speaker, is that for every no you get, you're getting one step closer to a yes. So just, you know, make no your vitamin, as he would say. So every time you get a no, it's making you stronger and you're getting closer to that yes. It's part of the game, guys, when it comes to selling. Step 3, I see lots of sales professionals who kind of taught this one down, but the true sales professionals, the ones who are actually making sales, you know, in the hundreds of thousands, the millions, have a script. And the reason why you have a script is because if you're not great at sales, you need a base, you need a foundation to come from in order to sell, you know, effortlessly. When I'm selling, I can sell anything from £3,000 for a coaching program right the way up to £50,000 for a coaching program. That's what I've been able to sell, right? And I've done that because I started with a script in my early days of being a business owner, and over the years, we're going back to 2006, where I really got into sales scripts. I've perfected it. I've evolved it. I've made it my go-to, and that's what I coach my clients with. And so I have specific scripts that I give to clients and they follow. And before you know it, they're knocking out 3K sales, 5K sales, 10K sales, you know, sales into the hundreds of thousands. And there are a lot of people who say, don't have a script, it's going to make you sound like a robot. And here's my little piece of advice. Think of some of the greatest Hollywood films that you've seen. They all started with scripts, but the actors who improved their skills of acting, who improved their ability to deliver in how they speak and present, you know, in a movie, made it their own. And that's why I would say to you, have a script, make the script your own, use your language, you know, evolve the words. And if you don't have a script, guys, and you really would love to have a script, just drop a comment below this video right now and just say sales script, and I'll reach out to you about how you can get a sales script from me. So the next thing that I want to touch on is, do have a script. You know, it will become your foundation of sales excellence. Practice. If you've got a script, now you can practice. You can role play with other people, especially if you just want to get better and you're not having enough sales calls. It might be another business peer, might be, you know, your mentor, your coach. It might just be somebody you come across in a Facebook group, let's say in a sales group or in a LinkedIn group. And just, you've got a great relationship, practice with them, test your script, see what they say is working, doesn't work. And that will help you to sharpen your saw when it comes to sales. Get feedback and guidance. This is one of the most powerful things that I do for my clients on my coaching programs. Provide feedback on their sales calls. So they send me their calls from Zoom, or they audio record it from their phone. So they send me an MP3. And what I can spot, obviously I've been doing this for years, as I said. I've been officially selling, I guess, business to business since 2004. And a little bit before that, probably 2000, but 2004, I'd say professionally. But the point is, that a seasoned sales professional will spot the nuances of your misbehaviors, and you won't spot them. I'm telling you, it's important that you get feedback, you get guidance, you get a mentor or a coach, because if you really want to change your sales results, you need to understand that you're not going to see all of the times where you've not been able to close a sale, and you won't understand why, because the way that your ego works and your brain works, it's going to protect you and make you think that, oh, it was their fault, the prospect's fault, why they didn't buy, or, you know, it was that time of the year where people don't have money, or whatever excuse you create. But the fastest way to get better at sales is to get feedback and guidance. And then finally, step 6, get on more calls. Once you've got a list of your fears, you know they're not real, you accept that no is normal, you've got a script, you're practicing, you're getting feedback, you've got to get on more sales calls, and that will make you an amazing salesperson in your business. And I'll tell you another thing. Why is that important? You won't necessarily have to sell forever, but when you make sales a powerful department and a powerful skill as a coach and consultant, and especially if you're, you know, it's you, perhaps you got 2 to 3 team members and you're the main person doing sales, by being able to get better at sales and having all of these systems in place, these structures in place, this is what will allow you to hire people in. Yeah. And you will have clarity on how sales calls are handled, what objections you get on the sales calls, and then you can bring somebody in, train them up, outsource it, or bring them into your team. And then this is how you will create leverage. This is how you'll take your business from doing 5 figures a month to 6 figures and beyond. And so for me, you take these actions, and this is how you combat sales being a nightmare to becoming a dream. Types of sales structures. There are different ways to sell: prospect call or sales call, a 60-second elevator pitch, which might be something you use just to get people interested, sales presentations, sales workshops, training. There's also support, you know, people who are existing customers, and then you upsell them into different types of products or services. So sales isn't just being a sales call. It can be different things. You know, it can be webinars, which is the same as sales presentations and so on. And the better you get at selling, the better all of these structures will work for you in your business. And when you finally get it to work, it'll look something like this. Like, here's one of my clients who in 3 months and a week, he was able to close $768,000 in sales for a $50,000 and $100,000 coaching program. So 2 packages, one at 50,000 and one at 100,000. This was one of my clients, Nate. And, you know, it just goes to show the powerful thing for me is that this was the start. After 6 months, he turned that result into $1.47 million in sales. And it might seem a bit high. Here's another client who turned 50 leads into £18,000 in sales, around about $24,000 in February. Here's another client, $13,000 day. Here's another client, £10,000 in under 30 days. And here's another client, another £18,000 in a month. Here's another client, £8,685 in a month. And here's a client who first started off with a £3,000 sale and then turned that into £100,000 in 5 months. It actually ended up being £150,000, but this is the part that I captured as the proof. And here are other clients: 3,900, 2.5K, 4,500, and you know, so on and so forth. Now, if you looked at this and you're thinking, wow, that kind of makes sense, I like what Leon has shared, then, you know, I've got something for you. It's very simple. If you want help, and if you'd like to have your social media working for you, your sales working for you, just comment sales below this video. I won't even say social, comment sales specifically, and I'll send you more details on how you can get those types of results that my clients have achieved and take your coaching or expert or consulting business to the next level. If you like the content, guys, then at this point, it's a wrap. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just go to leonstreet.com/YouTube and hit the subscribe button and click on the notification bell to be notified of all my upcoming videos. And on that note, guys, I've got a final thing to say. If you are having challenges with sales right now, any challenge, please comment below this video and I will send you a video response detailing exactly what you need to do to solve your sales problems. It's probably the most critical part of your business after marketing. And if I can help you take your sales to the next level in just a 2 to 3 minute sales tip, I will actually do that for you, specific to what you're doing right now in your business. It doesn't matter what type of business, as long as you're a coach, a consultant, or an expert, and I will give you the right advice for you to start closing to that next level. And on that note, guys, I just want to say thank you very much, and I hope you have a great selling week. And until next week, I'll catch you again. Nathan, I'll be in touch. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.